Okay, so we'll discuss all the essays. See, essay structure is well aware of everyone, right? I have taken classes also on that, and previous class we had discussed about it. In this class, we will try to focus on the arguments and what can be the major things, what is the essay topic means, and in what dimensions or what arguments we can generate on this particular topic. Some of things you must have done that, and some perspective you can add from my side. I'll not focus more on the value addition of example and those all things, because that's already flooded with your mind, and once you understand the topic, there is no drought of examples for us, examples and the theories. The first one is thinking about thought changes the nature of thinking. Now, this question solely depends on, have you understood the difference between what is thinking and what is thought? If somebody has done that understanding, then it will be easy for that person. But if not, then not attempting this question is better. Otherwise, you will confuse, and if you are not having enough content to elaborate this topic, what is thinking, thought, relation, highly philosophical and highly more of like this is discussed recently. I'm reading some books, so mostly a self-help book kind of thing, because a lot of our stress, mental stress, comes because of our thinking. Okay, thought doesn't create the stress, thinking creates the stress. What is the difference? Thought is something which comes in your mind when you encounter any incident or you experience anything. That's the thought. For example, let's say that today I woke up, I saw news in the media that the protest has been called off in Jharkhand. So my thought came is that, okay, it happened. I think it happened for good, that now things are resolved. That is my thought. Thinking means when you keep arguing on that thought, you question that thought, dwell inside that thought, why it happened, why not early, why that those so much violence against them. You start questioning, you start arguing with that same thought. That is thinking. So that when your mind is involved in the deeply emotionally engaged with that thought, it creates stress. It creates stress, and that is the way we get, I think, our brain or head start getting loaded. Those are the ideas. There is a book called "Don't Believe Everything You Think." That is purely on this particular thing, like how you think, and change the way you think, and it changes your life. Something like that. Quotes are there on this topic. Now, elaboration of this topic, like the thinking about thought, changes the nature of thinking. Means basically, what is if you want to summarize, thought is going to be there. You cannot change. You will get thought. But how you are thinking this will determine whether it is productive or not. So, thought, if it is controlled, when thinking is controlled on your thought, when it is controlled, your thinking over the thought is controlled, then there will be productivity and there will be peace of mind. Here, peace of mind you will get. However, if it is uncontrolled, that is, your thinking is not in the direction of the way you want, then what will happen? It will create stress or low productivity. So peace of mind you won't get, right? So that is the that is the idea of this. Quite tough in order to write the 1200 words. Anyone have written this? No, I would have skipped this because tough topic to think. A lot of yeah, but if somebody will only this is the topic, then we can write also like in the different levels, like the individual and social, like how you can change the thinking. Today's thought is that, let's say the thought is like women are incapable of military services. That is the thought. Let's change the thinking, like they are capable. That will change the nature of thinking itself, right? I mean, by changing the thinking, we can change the things. Same thing for the individual, same thing for the society, so same thing for the nation. What we are thinking thought about the developed country 2047, if it is positive, if it is like the yes we can do, then the result will be different. And if our pessimism is there in our mind, then it will be difficult. So like that we can elaborate, definitely that's not an issue. And then what is the other side of it? Thinking about thought changes the nature of thinking. The other side of this is these are highly subjective things. I mean, it requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of consciousness, meditation, and these all things in order to understand the thought. There are hundreds, lakhs of thoughts are running in our mind every day. Then thinking about those thoughts, identifying the thought is very difficult, first of all. Second, there are many irrelevant thoughts are also coming. So which thought is relevant, which is not, very difficult to choose, right? And then those are the opposite side of this topic also. And then yes, we can shape our thinking through some measures are there. Like first of all, these are very challenging in today's world when the life is going through rush. We don't have time to think peacefully, calmly, and reflect on our thought and imagine those thoughts and then rebuild our thinking. So that that has become very challenging. But yes, through reflective writing, through self-reflection, through thinking, through awareness, definitely we can bring more awareness about our thinking, what way our thinking is going on, and that way we can change the nature of our thinking from thinking more about like the past, regret, and those all things than the being in the present. So that is the topic. Not, I mean, very difficult to write, but yeah, having the understanding, maybe somewhere it will be useful also. Maybe in some other topic, the same idea can be used. That's why learning this is important. By you say that thinking, we should change our thinking so that it can change our life, something like that. In some of other essay topic, as an argument, you can use it. Okay. What is the second one? The line between right and wrong. The line between right and wrong is drawn with the ink of perspective. The line between right and wrong is drawn with the ink of perspective. Do you agree with this? Yes? No? So what draws the line between right and wrong? The question is, if a particular let's say the incident, whether it is right or wrong. That means that relationship, is this incident is right or wrong? Who will determine? There are many ways to determine. Law determines. It's simply like what determines the morality of a particular action, isn't it? Does the law determine? Does the religion determine? Does the value system determine? What is justice? Constitution? Many factors are there which determines what is right and what is wrong. But this question is saying that what is the role of, basically is drawn with the ink of perspective, that is, it is by perspective which determines what is right and what is wrong. Have you written this topic? You have written this one? You also? You also? What topic? First one you wrote? Thinking wala? Nice. Okay, second one. Good. Nice. Yeah. So now see, that question is more of a human perspective, individual perspective, social perspective, the institution perspective about what is right and wrong. So it is neglecting this part. It is neglecting this part. So basically our essay approach will be first explaining that how the perspective determines what is right and wrong. Then we can go for criticizing that argument and saying that no, perspective is very subjective, very individualistic, not well codified, not well determined. Perspectives are many times shaped by the prejudice, social conditions and those things, and that's why there are other like law, religion, religious codes, code of conducts, value system, constitution, which guides our action, whether a particular action is right or wrong, right? So that is the other side of the picture. But the major challenge here, see here you can write very easily, like the introduction can be created through some anecdote about the perspective, like you can create a story also here, like if by creating a particular scenario in which you can say like how the perspective is determining whether it is right or wrong. Here the anecdote must be comparative anecdote. Then it will explain better. Comparative in the sense, two persons will be there. One is following a particular perspective which is making it right, another is following another perspective, okay, on the same issue, right? Let's say that the same example we take about the whether development or environment. Forget about law and everything. It will determine whether it is right to go for mining by deforestation, is right or wrong. Forget about other thing, perspective. One person's perspective is saying that yes, development is important because it is fulfilling my needs of electricity and this whole thing. Another is saying that what's the point of this whole thing when I won't be able to breathe properly. So based on that, the rightness and wrongness that line was drawn based on their perspective on that particular issue. So that way clearly one very good anecdote can be created here. Then the major elaboration challenge here is that the perspective. What kind of argument you can generate on this particular thing? First you have to establish it, yes, how the perspective is influencing, right? In what way perspective influences? Perspective gives a kind of direction of your thinking about the particular issue or particular topic, okay? So it gives the direction to thinking. At the same time, it can also give the orientation of your action. What kind of action you are having. It can also create perspective can create your decision making will be determined by your perspective. Decision making also requires the rightness or wrongness. The ethical dilemma are tackled. Ethical dilemma is the keyword. Now, how ethical dilemma is resolved? Using the conscience. Now, the individual perspective actually shapes our conscience, or the conscience is shaping your perspective, isn't it? Conscience is more individualistic, coming from your own, right? So that helps in resolving the ethical dilemmas here. So that can be another argument. Okay. Now see, here I am not bringing individual social, but my examples will be in those directions. That is, you have to be very careful that instead of writing individual, social, economic and those all things, you give the argument, you link the example to this argument. Direction of thinking for individual example you can give. Like Gandhiji's perspective on non-violence gave his direction to thinking about the non-violent mode of movements. Example like the Chora-Chori incident and those all things. How their actions are determined, like the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, or let's take the individual institution perspective, like the institution of ISRO's perspective about the failure, right? About the failure made them to reback. The optimism made them to reback and do the action of redevelopment of the project after that Chandrayaan failure. Our decision making for the civil servants, you can talk, or the, let's say, go for the national level, the decision making of the nation to operate Operation Sindoor. That was national decision, Operation Sindoor. That was because our perspective changed about the Pakistan, that they are keep on doing that, the state sponsored terrorism. So we will be more resolute. So now see, once you have the argument, it will be easy for you to identify the examples or to substantiate these points, right? You can also hear ethical dilemma. You can talk about any philosopher. You can talk about the Dharma Sankat in the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita, right? You can talk about any philosophers also, like January Bentham or some philosopher says that your individuality depends on a perspective determines right and wrong. However, this Immanuel Kant and others says that there are universal values, universal thing which determines right and wrong. Like justice is same for everyone. I mean, it is well accepted. Truth well accepted that it should be the ink which should determine what is right and wrong. These philosophers says. But the Charvaka, January Bentham, these people says that no, your individuality matters. What you think right for you is right, isn't it? So that is the philosopher also you can link. So like this, we generate the different point on the particular topic, that is on the perspective. How perspective is determining that. Okay, but then you have to come up and say that the counter, and a lot of counter you have to give it, because this is a very narrow statement. Only perspective cannot determine the right or wrong, right? There has to be a system. There has to be a system to determine what is right and wrong. Otherwise, subjectivity will be there, and anarchical situation can also come. And then you start bringing the philosophers like Immanuel Kant, Aristotle, or Chanakya, who talked about more of established system to determine what is right and wrong. That is called a rule of law, Article 40. Right? It should not be rule of perspective. That's very good point you can give. The rule of perspective versus rule of law. Right? Perspective can be different. That rule can be different. But rule of law is well established. Right? So that is these are the things you have to give in the counter argument as the antithesis. Okay. Then why this thing is the perspective is drawn with the ink of perspective? I mean, see, you can link in the present context, especially with the Gen Z protests, or the way Gen Zs are behaving, or the way Gen Zs are looking towards the different socio-political issues. They're more of their perspective. Individualism is increasing, and their perspective about the different socio-political issues have certain particular dimension. It's like how they are perceiving. Definitely that has been saved by the social media, that has been saved by the way they have got the bringing. So that aspect can be brought here, like their way of determining what is right and wrong has been different than the earlier generations, isn't it? So that that you can bring here. At the same time, what other challenges in determining the rightness and wrongness in perspective, especially reducing the negative or the unproductive perspectives. The destructive perspective should be reduced, right? So how the destructive perspective, like you see the food adulteration example, please bring that, what is happening in the Maharashtra, Pune, that you must have Tukaram Monday, his actions. So the food adulteration is an example of having the profit perspective towards the decision making in the business. They are thinking, okay, let's make more money by adulterating the food, not thinking about the human health, public health. So during that time, we should be thinking more of perspective of not just profit but the public health. So the profit perspective versus the public perspective, public interest perspective. What kind of perspective you are having? And you see that in present context, the profit perspective has overpowered the public interest perspective, right? So that is the challenge in the today's time, and then you will give the solutions like the what should be done. Basically there is a need of moral perspective. Not every perspective should be allowed to determine the right and wrong. There has to be the morality in our perspective. That is the way forward. Like the perspective must have the moral basis that will lead to the ethical decision making. That means you are determining what is right and wrong, not just based on perspective, the kind of perspective which is having the morality. Okay, so this is the thing. Now the question is how to develop such perspective. Definitely the role of parenting, the role of education, the role of society, the role of the self role in developing the moral perspective, right? So this is going to be the moral perspective, is going to be our stand. Okay, basically the morality system given by the Aristotle and these all things, plus the individual perspective. We both have, this is called a synthesis you are giving, right? Thesis, antithesis, synthesis you are giving, and that is should be your stand. That yes, I believe in the perspective is important, but it should be guided by morality. It should not be like the harmful or destructive, which is determining what is right and wrong. And for that you can develop like this, and that this can be the conclusion also on this line you can end it. Anything you want to add, because most of you have written this. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. What do you understand by this? Is a choice. What do you understood with this? Huh? Not written, but still.
is not about choosing the sure. It is about the age of information choices.
True. It's about the selective utilization or selective utilization of the information. When the information is flooded, you need to be selective. Otherwise, it is going to flood your brain with a lot of things, and it will create the confusion and the discomfort. Same thing like in the today's last in two years, the content has not become a major issue for the UPSC aspirants after this AI, right? Now it has become which kind of content you are choosing and which kind of content you are ignoring. That has become more important, right? But there was one point of time when we used to say like the content, especially there was one time that rural and then the remote areas content is not available. We have to go Delhi because notes and these all things is not available. Then the situation came when the English medium content was enough, but the regional language content was not there, especially Hindi medium and other medium content was not there. So they used to complain. But this is not the era of the information. This is the era of information only. Information revolution, you can say. These terms you can use here. The age of information. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. You must have, it's your choice. It should not be just a compulsion. It should not be just ignored. It has to be a choice that you, in order to ensure that you are using the productive way, right? Why? Because of you have to bring here in the digital era. Digital technology like AI has brought information flood. That information flood is if it is mindless utilization or exposure, this will create confusion over clarity. But if it was informed ignorance, then it will create clarity over confusion. Okay, see this will be helpful in your ethics also. Okay, similar thing like creating two situation that will help you to create some flow diagram. I mean, for a particular thing, create the two contrasting side of it. Will help you to create the flow diagram. Like in digital era, information flood is there. Are you using mindlessly? You are exposed to reels and this content. Then definitely it will create the confusion. You will not have the clarity. But if it is informed ignorance, not like the everything you are ignoring, but your ignorance is supported by your own choice, your own that is the informed decision making. Then there will be the clarity over the confusion. So that is the crux of this particular topic. Like the age of information ignorance is a choice. How this particular topic can be can be divided. See, the first thing you have to explain is that the age of information. You need to explain this age of information. Basically, you have to talk about the digital, online content, AI, these all things. This is the information where a lot of information are available. Age of information explaining. Then second thing is that why ignorance required. Why ignorance required? Basically, why this information is harmful. Generally, information is considered as the power. The more the information, better you are. But why there is a need of ignorance? So you give the reason behind it, like the information, how it is harmful, and that is the core thing here. Why information is required or should be a choice? Should be a choice. A choice. Why ignorance a choice? Right? Because fake news, misinformation, right? Abundance of information. There is error in information. So many issues are there. More of I think it is a GS type of question than the philosophical question. It is more of like the digital era question, right? Ignorance is a choice. So you have to be ignorant. Now the question is that why it is difficult? How and why it's difficult to ignore, to choose ignorance in the digital era, right? Why that is happening? It is happening because like the public are not informed. They're not able to judge what is right and what is wrong, right? So there is a lack of regulation, lack of public awareness that is causing this difficulty to choose and take the informed decision, and that lack of digital literacy is also there, right? So those are the issues which is harming that. And the opposite side of this is that in the age of information, ignorance is the choice. The ignorance may not, many times the right information may be ignored, which was important. That is the opposite side of it. Right information may be ignored. And then you will definitely give the solutions, like what should be done. Fact check, the literacy, digital literacy, the social media regulations, accountability, those all things are the GS type solutions you can give in this particular thing. And then finally the conclusion with the summary. You can talk about like the era of information should also be supported by era of greater informed choice. Right? It should not be just the age of information, it should be also the age of informed choice. Okay, aware choice. So if both are linking, then there won't be an issue with the age of information. If the choice or the informed decision making by the individual, society, institution, nation is not there, then the information will overpower our own choice, right? So that is the conclusion here. Excellence is not an act but a habit. Yeah, this I was expecting most of you might be writing this one. Actually, from many days there is a wallpaper in my phone also which says this Raj Samani. Winners do not do the boring work daily. Losers do exciting work occasionally. Winners do the boring work daily. Losers do exciting work occasionally. Exactly the same topic it is. Excellence is not an act but a habit. It's not like the one time you got very huge excitement and you start doing something. Consistency has to be there. Like this UPSC preparation. Exactly. It's not of like the one day you got a lot of excitement, you wrote 10 question or the 2 papers you wrote, but then for 1 month you didn't write a single answer. Right, so that is the topic. It was an easy one, like excellence is not an act but a habit. In the section B, what you wrote? 7th you? 6, 7. Not wrote. Oh, no. Sure. 6 and 7. The greatest revolutions begin quietly in human thought. That's why you didn't choose the first one or what? Actually, exactly. That was the trap actually. I mean, it will be very difficult to completely differentiate the first question and second, sixth question. I told sir that, sir, why you are keeping both are same? He said that that's the thing. Now, anytime you have to choose, you will find like the same topic, and then when you start writing it, you'll feel like I'm writing the same thing what I wrote in the first essay. So try to choose the different essay. That's very important. Okay, the greatest revolutions begin quietly in human thought. Yeah, that is the way you thinking, the way what is your thought process, right? So that will start changing everything, right? So let's try to divide this particular topic. The greatest revolutions begin quietly in human thought. See here the terms, let's identify. The greatest revolution begin quietly in human thought. Two words are there. Two keywords are there. Okay. Now basically you have to, you can use the quote of first quote in this also, right? As a quote. The thinking about thought changes the nature of thinking.
Copying the previous.
Why not? Why not? You can do that.
In the context.
Yeah. It's not about copying, no. It's not about copying. You're using it, and you're writing a particular specific essay. I think they will be happy, like you are able to identify that and utilizing it. Right? We're not copying and carrying something from outside. Right? It is given. It's the best utilization of resources, available resources. Okay. The greatest revolutions begin quietly in human thought. How you started?
Using how the manifest patient friends who were evaluated, I have shown the comparative approach, like the higher some government students who migrate technology that they are using now, and how we cover using leaves to fast fashion today.
So what is the revolution in that?
5%.
No. The revolution begins quietly in human thought. Basically, you are saying that that's a technological revolution, right? From the Stone Age to the present age, that is a technological revolution which was guided by the human thought, isn't it? So basically, the question is that the greatest revolution, that word is there, na? You have to bring the different revolutions in your essay. That's important. Like industrial revolution, like the revolution which.
Was like on humans. Those revolutions are going on.
Yes. That's what I'm coming into the point only. The introduction is okay. I mean, that's fine introduction. You can start with that, no issue. Whether it is like now elaboration of that part, elaboration when you will establish the first part of your essay, definitely you will explain about this. What is greatest revolution or revolution mean? What is the human thought mean? Explain these things. You have to explain these things, okay? Then you'll determine like how the human thought shaped the revolutions, right? That is the first thesis part here. How human thought shaped revolutions, greatest revolution. Now you come from the history to the present time, the different revolution as an example, as examples. Now basically here you have to give the argument again, like how human thought shapes the any particular revolution. Quietly it begins, right? So human thought, the first thing does is that raises questions. The genesis of the questioning starts from human thought, isn't it? That questioning did the shape what? Revolution. Once you won't question the existing system, revolution won't come. Whether it is Marxist, what Marx did, he questioned the capitalist establishment, right? So that revolution, that question must have come through his thought process. and that led to the revolution. So once you give this argument, you can support either that revolution, or you give the Bhudan movement revolution, right? Bhudan revolution, how it came in Vinoba Bhave's thought. French Revolution, a socio-cultural revolution in India which happened during that mid 18th century, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, these all things, these are also there, right? Similarly, in the present times, the revolution in the society, how the society changed, the digital revolution, the Gen Z revolution, or these are the new things you have to bring also. And the most importantly, how individual thought, or the individual revolution, the revolution in our mind from the collective thinking to the individual thinking also is a kind of revolution brought by human thought only. Right? The minds changed of the philosophers like the Gautam Buddha, how that revolution came in their brain, in their life of Gautam Buddha, from being a king, a son of the king, or being a prince, to being a monk. That's a revolution, and happened because of the thought changed about the life, about what is there in this universe. So human thought raises question. Then what else human thought does? Human thought
Gives consciousness.
gives consciousness about like what is happening. Human thoughts bring more awareness about the different issues. Human thoughts is the source of intelligence, right? Critical thinking. Human thought is the genesis of the scientific temper, and that way you bring the technological revolution. How human thought is shaping the technological revolution? It is shaping because of that critical thinking, because of the scientific thinking, which is trying to solve the problems, right? So that way the different dimensions you are going to bring. And then what is the antithesis of this?
Not all thoughts
Led to the revolution. Not all thought will lead to the revolution. Not necessary, right? Human thought will lead to revolution, because only you have, let's say, I have the thought to change the agriculture structure of India. May not bring the agriculture revolution or another green revolution in country. So the thought definitely is required for a particular revolution, but it needs to be supported by the institution, system, resources, public support. Then it leads to the revolution. So the only thought of individual is not enough. It has to be supported by this system. I don't have resources to bring the change in the agriculture system. How will I do that? Isn't it? So that's why this is important, like the institution, system, and these all things to bring the revolution. And that is the critic of this thought, Bala. Okay. Now, so you bring the antithesis. The synthesis you have to bring is what? The synthesis you have to bring, yes, the human thought should be nurtured. Human thought should be saved in a positive manner. Human thought should be conserved. We should write our thoughts. We should share our thought. There is a need of this deliberation, discussion, and sharing of thought. But at the same time, we should also work on this in order to support that thought to transfer into a revolution. Right? That is the synthesis of that topic, and that is the should be our stand in this particular question. We cannot just support the thought. Yes, these are also important. And then yes, there is a you can talk in many ways, like how the human thought is being either compromised. Especially you can talk about the human thought of the tribals or the indigenous people. That indigenous knowledge system is not coming up to become the revolution in our, let's say, the environmental protection also. That means, despite being human thought, since lack of coming into the mainstream, it is not able to give a revolution. That's a challenge for us. right? At the same time, there is a flood of human thought. Many times the irrelevant or insignificant or impractical human thought are being given the resources, given the institutional support, and they are failing. The two side of picture in the present issue we have to mention, where one side the good thoughts are not being nurtured, and that's why they are not been coming into the revolution, while their bad thoughts or not very good thoughts are being nurtured and they are not bringing the right revolution, right? The failure of some of the projects or can be an example, like Sarat Buster is one of the example where thought was right, but since that was not aligned with the culture, tradition, those all things, that's why they didn't come into the revolution, Sarat Buster revolution. Now see, here one more thing is that the culture also has to be linked with the thought. How? Many times you will, for example, in tribal area, you start any particular, you brought your urban thought in the tribal culture, and the culture, it is not aligned with the culture, they won't accept it. They won't accept it. For example, recently in Bastar, you know, now Bastar is the Naxal, India is the Naxal free country now. Now, in Bastar, there is a plan to, yesterday only while coming back to Hyderabad from Vijayawada, in the train I met one person, the media person from the big media person next to me. So we were discussing these all things. So he was sharing about the Bastar. There is a plan to make the Bastar a homestay, the nation of homestay kind of thing. With you can go there, experience the tribal culture and these all things. Now, to do that, definitely when you will create the homestays, you have to create the toilet in the home, right? Because the people coming from the urban area to stay there, they can't go to jungle like, right? So that is important, and that has to be accepted by the tribals. Now it will be difficult to convince them like to have the toilet within for some tribal communities, right? Now if you will try to bring that revolution, and if that is not accepted culturally, that will be difficult to become the revolution, right? So that has to be culturally aligned also. Okay, so that is the thing. Now the thing is, yes, there is you will say that the two-pronged approach is required. One is the way is that you're shaping the thoughts by the right education, right upbringing, the confidence measures, these all things. One way you will shape the thoughts. At the same time, you will try to provide the resources. You give example of startup ideas has to be given the venture capital fund. Then only that will come off as a successful startup. When you're talking about that level, you also talk about the lower level, that is the indigenous knowledge systems. That which is existing as a thought should be provided with resources, and that should come in as a revolution. Existence precedes meaning, yet meaning defines existence. Very tough choice here, this one. Existence precedes meaning. Meaning precedes, yet meaning defines existence. Yet see, some essays, this topic of essay, this has two sides. Now, if you see the sixth essay, greatest revolution begins quietly in human thought. So, the equation is simple. Human thought leading to revolution. Simple thought, a simple equation is there. This is a two equation question. In schools, when we used to study mathematics, you remember? There are two equations and then three equations. Then first we have to link the first two equations, then link with the third equation. So it used to be the difficulty was increasing. Same thing is there here also in essay writing. When there are two equations, it becomes difficult to write. When there is simple one line equation, it becomes easy to write. So try to choose at least one topic should be the single equation. For example, let's identify what we ignore today shape what we regret tomorrow. What we ignore today saves the what we regret tomorrow. Exactly same, na? The greatest revolution saved the greatest revolution are saved by human thought. Same, na? See, what we ignore today save what we regret tomorrow. So ignorance today is shaping regret tomorrow. Opposite of it, non-ignorance today will save the lack of regret tomorrow, basically. Right? So single equation. Getting? Third question. Existence. Okay, that is the existence is preceding the meaning. Question number. The equation 1. Existence, human existence, is preceding meaning. Yet meaning defines existence. Meaning is leading to the existence.
Like a circular thing.
Yeah. So here I'll explain like how to do this kind of when you end up with doing this 2 equation wala essays. Now see. The existence, your existence itself is giving you meaning. Like man is what I wanted to say. Man is end in itself. It doesn't need any meaning to be aligned with me to determine my existence or anything, right? Don't attach any meaning to me. What I look, how I look, what I do, what I don't do, whether I support you or not, where you find any meaning in my life or not, what kind of job I'm doing. You don't need to attach these things to me in order to determine my worth. But take let's say the digital board. It didn't have the existence. Its meaning comes after its existence. Isn't it? After it is manufactured, this one, then its meaning came. Before it was nothing. Okay, until unless it's not giving any meaning, it's useless. But the human being, that's not like the way it is. Yet meaning defines the existence. Now, the meaning, what kind of meaning you are giving? Basically, the human, you got the birth, you are living a life. But let's say in your life there is no meaning of like you are useless, you are not following the morality, you are not doing any productive work. Then your existence is useless. That is the another thinking. So basically 2 ways. First you have to establish the statement 1, then you have to establish the statement 2. Then you will provide the interconnection. So whenever these 2 equation essays will come, first you will explain the first one, establish the relationship in few paragraphs, then establish relationship between with this, then you will interlink both the thing like how together they create a meaning. Like both are important. Definitely existence precedes meaning and yet the meaning defines the existence. Both can be seen in the human life. Occasionally at the different situation you will find like they are applicable, right? They are applicable. So that is the idea. How you have approached this?
In my introduction, I started with the conflict between a phenomenologist and functionalist. So functionalists say existence is there and phenomenologists say through meanings existence is there. In order to combine both the perspectives, other persons is there to bridge the phenomenologist and functionalist. So this is my introduction, and later on I will write different dimensions like family. So before you burn out the family and their value systems and how do you change our education, political structure, how we change the ideologies, how meanings, history.
Sociology optional, right? That's why he chose this.
I didn't choose this. That is the reason I didn't choose it.
Yours also sociology.
You go into that.
Okay. Actually, Nishant is there now with us. So he is there.
It's very complex.
You know what feedback I gave? When he sent me his essay, I gave feedback. Son, this is an excellent essay. I mean, I never read such essay, but I don't think I am eligible to evaluate your essay. Please go to Venkateswalu sir. He can evaluate better. I don't think I am that much capable to understand it and tell you whether it is good essay or bad essay. Because too much philosophical. Yeah? I am learning from that.
Even me.
I mean something. Too much. I mean, his philosophical knowledge he has entered inside it. So now he is trying to control that. Let's see how he is doing that. Okay, so existence precedes meaning. Yet you understood, right? It's a topic. What it is?
Like, okay, particular antithesis, right? Because it's a showing the cycle.
Yeah.
So we just have to with arguments.
Yes, both sides, and you establish relationship. Yes. Okay. But do you find beyond this? I mean, see, you have to come up, whatever meaning it is drawing, you have to come up beyond this what is possible, and what is there apart from this what is there. For example, existence precedes meaning, yet meaning defines the existence. You have to question the meaning. Why there has to be a meaning? Can't I live just a life without a meaning? Right? I mean, how do you find the meaning in an emotion? How you find the meaning in an emotion between a mother and a son, or the mother and daughter, father or daughter? I mean, if there is an emotional relationship, can you judge that based on certain parameter and identify that, oh, this is the meaningful or this is not the meaningful? Right? I mean, how do you determine the meaning from the nature? I mean, many times the spiritual relationship between the tribal communities and the nature forest, how do you determine the meaning? How, through value or what? It's difficult. So basically you have to question any topic I'm saying. Beyond this you have to question. Right? Whatever they have established, you have to come out of it, and in one or two paragraphs you have to say that what about the other aspect that this essay is not saying. Every essay, even next essay, truth is discovered collectively but realized individually. Okay, truth we realize collectively, as well as the individually. That is the one thing they are saying. Either collectively, individually. What about the individual being considered as the collective? The individual is having their own, what is the truth discovery, and they are together making a collective discovery. For example, SHGs, self-help groups. There are 10 members, each one is having their own issues. Together they are identifying the common issue, and that is becoming their issue. That is their truth. Okay, so that is the way. And how let's say there is no collective, there is no individuality. What is there is an external system. There is metaphysical, like the supernatural, something like the God which is considered. This many times not the individual, not the collective. It is being determined by some supernatural, and it is believed by a large portion of this country and the world. That is also truth. I mean, for them at least. My point is that whenever you come across this topic, you have to counter it, or you need to give the perspective which is beyond that but linked to it, to question it. Basically, you will say, okay, this is nice, But apart from this is also there. That will enrich your essay like anything. Apart from this is also possible. So 1 or 2 paragraphs, if you are able to write, that will bring the diversity, at the same time the criticality in your essay. And I think that's a very important part of your essay should be there. So truth is discovered collectively but realized individually. Okay, it's saying that the truth is always realized. Basically, that is the meaning. Na? Truth is discovered collectively. We are discovering the what is truth collectively, but realized individually. You can establish very how. Any example? I am feeling like apart from your essay, you're not thinking about other essay topics. Huh? Your mind is stuck in what you have written. Hey, many times, the exact question comes. Last time I remember I wrote contentment wala question. The same question came in the UPSC, not in the same form. Form was different, but topic same topic came in the. But I didn't write that.
In these topics only we can find the similarity between.
Yeah. There is possibility that you will find some of it, and that's why we decided to have the at least brainstorming of all the topics. If you know the crux also of that topic, other than what you have written, then it will be easy for you to actually essay. You will be able to write in a better way. At least you can use those thoughts, perspectives in your essays. That's very important. Truth is discovered collectively but realized individually. Tell me.
This is a line from subjective realization of objective reality situation.
What?
Subjective realization of objective reality. Subjective realization is
understood.
Individual. Objective reality is
through the collective. Acha, means individual realizes the reality subjectively. Then when we do the collectively, we determine, it becomes objective. See, the best example is that Constituent Assembly. That was a collective one, right? Collectively, they determine what is truth, what is the justice, what is the fraternity, how should be our constitution. These all things they collectively determined, yet, right? And they created the constitution. But now, what exactly is the truth or not? That has to be understood and realized by individual. If I'm not thinking like reservation is the right policy, that's not a truth for me. That's not truth for me. I have to accept that for equity, that's important. Then only it becomes a truth. Right? Same for the society may determine, or religion, that's a collective decision what is the right and wrong or what is truth. But I may not believe on that. The many cases of intermarriage, truth for the caste or a particular society is that there should be intra-caste marriage. But for me, may not be truth. I think I need more liberty. Right? So that is I'm not accepting. So that is the collectively you are determining the truth, yes, because that is supporting the conscience of majority. That is utilitarianism basically. Utilitarianism says that the collective interest is the truth. But you counter with Jerry Bentham. J.S. Mill saying like that. Jerry Bentham saying, I don't know, individual. How individual is perceiving the truth for him, that's important. Right? So basically then what is the synthesis? There is a need of alignment between the collective truth and the truth for individual. Then only there will be peace. Otherwise some individual will keep on challenging the truth decided by the collective. Right? So there is a need of the collective truth should be having the same ground what the individual is having the truth. What is the ground for the individual truth? Now that may not be always same, and that's why there is always a need of keep changing, because individual thought, individual idea about the truth keep on changing. So that has to be updated in our collective truth. Like our constitutional morality should keep on updating. Our constitution, that's the amendment, right? The individual truth keep changing. For example, this homosexuality or the this same-sex marriages, that's individually born some kind of you can say that the truth is evolving, and that has not been given place in our law. So over the period, definitely one day it will come. There, 10 years back, nobody was talking also. It came to Supreme Court, it came to the public discussion. Now we are able to discuss here or in the different places. Definitely there will be, maybe, I don't know how many years, but one day that will come as part of the law. Nobody can stop it. The future will accept it. So that when there is a acceptance in the collective law, and then that will be the peace. Okay, and how do we do that? Yes, there is a need of more deliberation, more like the inclusion of the rights or the ideas of the minorities, identifying the right to life and liberty, and that is the personal rights. I mean, the giving recognition to them. So this is more kind of the political theory or the political thing, isn't it? Like the truth, it's discovered collectively but realized individually. Right? That's the idea about the basic. And the fifth one, what we ignore today shapes what we regret tomorrow. Right? That is same thing. Like if you won't sweat in the peace, you will bleed in the war. Exactly. So like what we ignore today shapes what we regret tomorrow. So and that is, there was one essay topic, like I forgot. That river wala not happiness, not see. I forgot the topic, but exactly this one. The point here is that you will find the same thing being asked in a different form. And that's why this brainstorming of the essays become important, because if you have brainstormed, you will find it like the exact, not inexact, but the sense or that meaning will be same. Now this is, if they give like the what, if you won't sweat in the peace, you will bleed in the war. The topic will be same, like this first one. What we ignore today shapes what we regret tomorrow, definitely. This is also one equation. Except question number 7, all 3, 5, 6, 8 are one equation. Okay, so are you able to finish the paper within the time? That's the first thing. Secondly,
just for this time, I have understood that in completion of GS4.
You couldn't complete it. You completed finally. You completed. That is a big relief. Actually, I was worried. That is the thing. I mean, that will itself add the value to you. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. See, let me tell you one example. In 2022, I'm giving my own example. 2022, I gave mains interview, and so final result came. I was expecting rank also. So I didn't get the rank. So when I checked the cutoff, it was 920 for OBC. My score was 915, 5 marks. You know, in that year, you check 2022 paper, there was one case study, first case study. It was long one. I could not write it. I could not even touch it because time I could not manage. Now imagine, even if I had written the average,
Stakeholders are
very bad case study also, then also I would have got 5 marks for sure out of 20 marks. 100%. I would have been in the rank list. See, so that's why I say this. Even you write the bad 1, they will give some 7, 8, 7, 8, something like that. Good, you will write. 11, 12, you will get. 13, you will get. But that 5, 6 mark, if I would have practiced more, or somebody would have told me, because I was doing that time self-preparation. Like the finishing the paper is the key thing. I mean, by hook or crook, you finish the paper. Or if I would have practiced more to learn how to finish the paper properly, I would have done that job. So that's why I don't want you to make that, because I know that pain. I mean, if you leave the question and you'll find like you missed by 1 mark, 2 mark, then that regret will be there, and then that regret remain for 2023, 2024, and then finally it is all 2025. So that's very tough. I mean, don't face that just because you could not finish the paper. There is no more pain than failing in CSAT after clearing GS. there is no larger pain for the civil services aspirant for not clearing the exam just because they could not complete the paper despite knowing the questions. If they ask some geography question which you have no idea, that's okay. But despite knowing that you are not able to face, that there is no big pain when you are not able to clear. Okay, so that's why from beginning I'm saying finishing the paper is very important. Okay, any question? Are you planning to write any other essay? I think that's not required anymore. Don't go for it. But before you go for the essay exam, one thing is that you have to revise whatever quote or whatever content you have. Secondly, you read your essay and go. Okay. Thirdly, before the essay, that I'll tell in the final one. Before essay or any exam, we at least write 2 pages with our maximum speed without caring about the handwriting. At least 2 pages. You take a diary before the exam hall, right? And there will be waiting time. That time sit somewhere. You write with the maximum speed. Your hand needs to get into the flow. But otherwise, initially, there will be, you will write very slow, and it will create problem. Okay, so that is the thing I adopted in 2025. Never adopted. One of my seniors suggested me that, like to write before it, because you should not gain the speed after writing 5 questions. Right. So before that only you write with your maximum speed, without caring about anything. I used to write like I'm feeling this. I will do best, like that. I used to motivate, and anything you write, but write to make your hand flow. Now those things we'll discuss before the exam. But for essay, we don't have to try any extraordinary or that don't do. Keep it simple. Keep it like how you have understood, the way you have structured, or the framework, whatever you have created. You have that framework, just that whatever the simple understanding you have, you write it, and the approach is like thinking apart from that and those all things. Extraordinary we should not try. That's very risky. Okay. Simple essays will give the marks, not like you're writing very, very extraordinary thing, not required. Okay. Don't stuck because of you don't have quote, anecdote, or let's say some slokas or not required also. Those are the second, maybe it will add 1 or 2 marks. Right? It won't be determining factor of your essay. You have to realize that the determining factor of marks is that the arguments, how diverse, how deep, and how well you have understood the topic and given the arguments. This anecdote, this slokas, quotes, and these all things are secondary. They will add, let's say, the 5 marks. So 120 mark, 5 mark, went 115. For that, I should not compromise the content part. I should not keep thinking or stressing too much on that part. Okay. So that is the same thing for our GS also. Core part of content is the main demand of the question. Intro, conclusion, diagram, example, these all things are secondary. Your points, your arguments are the core thing. But it doesn't mean that we won't write it, we won't do that. That definitely will do. But my point here is that when it comes to priority, what we are prioritizing? We are prioritizing the content, the pure argument of the topic, not the value addition and those all things. Yes, we'll do that, but not on the priority. If you'll ask me, yes, this is a priority. So at the end, if you're leaking with the time, forget about example diagram and this whole thing. You give the arguments. Okay, you give the arguments and leave it also. Many times I have done this earlier also, that I have left the conclusion. I used to leave the space for introduction also. If I get time, I will write it. That directly came to the point, because that will give you marks. Now let's say you write the introduction and conclusion, you leave the body part. Why you will get the marks there? But you write the body part and leave the introduction. So definitely, if you have addressed some part of it, they will definitely give at least 1 or 2 marks, right? So that is the approach we need to have for this kind of. Anything you want to ask? Any question? Okay, that will conclude.